So we have gone through service department, police, fire, dispatch, mayor's court, and we're now on to the family rec center, which there are no page numbers on here, but it's up on the screen. Take it away, Mr. Veras.
Okay, thank you. So as Jan said, it's the Family Rec Center. We have 4 lines of wages: full-time, part-time, program staff, custodial staff, and an overtime line that relates to anybody that might have overtime, pension, and hospitalization. And those two pension, hospitalization, combined with the wages and the overtime, add up to $692,700, which again flows through over to the right here, where you vote on it in this format over here. Jason comes out of here. Cindy, trying to think of the other 2 people.
Alan, Brad.
Yeah, Alan and Brad.
John.
John. Alan comes out somewhere else by himself. I forget where that was. That came up last week.
Is he part of that program budget? Program staff?
No. He was in a different area all by himself. Maybe right here? I think he's right here.
That's out of the other end of the rec.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple other sporting expenses that come out of there as well.
Right. Soccer program, day camp. Yep. Yeah, he comes out of here. So, moving on to the other category for the Family Rec Center. Jason, professional fees, that's mainly your class instructors?
Yes, that is all of our programming instructors.
Okay. A little bit of RETA retainer, because some of the RETA income is assigned to the Family Rec Center. Contracted services would be the cleaning crew, outside cleaning crew that comes in. Then you got your utilities, building maintenance, custodial supplies, special events, aquatic program supplies. And then down below, we already went over, we had taken out $100,000 of $115,000 in 2020. That was going to be for the family changing room. We decided to put that off again for this year. And these capital improvements are divided up, I think 25,000 equipment, 10,000 miscellaneous, and the balance 65,000 for building needs, and the rec committee helps decide those spendings. Jason, you want to add anything?
All of that information was correct, and then I could not begin to explain to you why this was. However, our contracted services as well as the custodial supplies, we're basically using both of those line items for the same stuff. And
okay.
why there was ever 2 line items created, I don't know. We can fix that in 21 though and consolidate.
Okay.
Because that all goes towards cleaning services.
Okay. Well, the supplies are probably everything they buy. The services are the company.
No, the company's definitely the other one.
Okay.
It's a lot of money.
All right, we could group them together.
Yeah. We can worry about that at another time.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought computer maintenance we were putting all under IT, or was that a different line type?
Well, since this building is kind of on an island, we keep some expenses here. That's probably, because they have modems there that and their TV. some of their Wi-Fi upstairs for the machines.
Okay.
So that it's kind of specific to this building.
Hey, Jessica.
Yeah.
The rec center is a little bit weird because the rec center basically has its own miniature data center. They have their own server, their own network closet, and their own network switches over there. So they are kind of on an island. So consider it sort of the misfit toys. And so there are some maintenance costs that I do like that John keeps just for them, because I mean they literally do have their own miniature server room over there. They run off a lot of our resources, but not all of them.
Okay.
So they're a little strange, is the short of it.
Any other questions on this area?
Do you have what 2020 budget was? Since this document just shows the 2021, we had gotten the 2021 budget projection for police fire when we spoke about them. Can you tell us, this is saying it'll be $1.3 million. What was it in 2020?
I think it was $1.3 million, less a little bit of wages because I think I added, because of the 27 pays in 2020.
Right. I know about that, but is there a way to give us what the dollar amount was in 2020? Because we had it for the others, so we can see what the difference is. Because we know for the police wages, it added 451,000 due to one pay, plus COVID, plus county vet. I mean, there was a couple things in that one.
Okay. Well, I will try and connect to the server and get that information.
Yeah, if you could send that. In fact, it should have been provided for all the departments, like we did with the police and fire.
Okay.
But if you can send it out that way, remember we have some new people on council. It'd be good for them to see where were we at in 2020, where are we going to be in 2021? Because you look at the dollars coming in, but you also got to look at the expenditures going out to see, can you stay pretty equal, especially in the COVID. So
Right.
if you could do that, we'd appreciate it.
I'm trying to do it right now as we talk.
Well, if not, let's just keep going because we do have a work session coming up.
Okay. So to go back to what you vote on, the next fund is the Spirit of Macedonia Festival. 12, 20, current. And then you have the Water M&E Fund. We paid for one service department employee out of there. And then we have maintenance expense on hydrants. We have repairs of hydrants, and this past year, a lot of hydrants got hit for some reason. So if you recall, we had to increase that to take care of the extra repairs. And unfortunately, a lot of those accidents were at times of the day where kind of a hit and run to a fire hydrant. So we didn't have any reimbursement from private insurance carriers. Okay, so motor vehicle license tax. We use this for salt for the most part. Police pension is 0.3 mils of our overall inside millage for the city. So this doesn't cover their full cost of pension, but what we do is we max it out as close as we can each year from the money that comes in from property tax. And then these are two special police funds that, depending on cases that they have that settle, sometimes money will go in to a law enforcement fund here, and we have to spend it on drug-related law enforcement expenses. That might be a breathalyzer machine that we have to buy or something like that. Same thing, slightly different reasons to spend the money, but it needs to be segregated because it comes from a different political subdivision than what these cases come from. This is just Cdbg Grant. If we apply for a Cdbg Grant, it looks like at one point prior to me getting here, it looks like it was set up to handle the grant receipt of the revenue and expense for what the grant was awarded for. So I just threw $2,000 in there, just instead of a zero. Mayor's Court Computer Fund, part of the fees paid go towards this fund, and we pay for maintenance of the software, and if we ever need a updated desktop or any computer related expenses, it comes out of this fund. FAIR program, that's the program that fire does, and a lot of training expenses come out of here, and we recently increased the 2020 budget to increase the training because of I think it was 2 new hires at the time started training. Subdivision trees, again, probably way back when a subdivision was created and money was set aside for trees for that subdivision. That's the purpose for this. We haven't had a lot of subdivisions lately, so threw $2,000 in there.
Before you go on, Mayor, do you want to talk about trees in the subdivision?
Yeah, we are working to eliminate the problem from the past where we collected the funds in new neighborhoods for the trees, and we would handle all that. Any new neighborhoods that go in from this point moving forward, that's going to be changing. We still have some lingering issues we have, so that fund is still going to exist for a little bit of time, but we're going to reverse all that and put it more on the developer, and we're going to have more control on what types of trees go in there still, and that was the initial intent from what I understood from previous mayors, because they were putting in trees that didn't belong there. And I think we experienced that more in the older neighborhoods where, there's trees that blossom to a size that doesn't make sense and they pop the sidewalk. So moving forward, we're going to definitely change that.
I wanted Jeff and Dave to hear that, since that change was just made recently. But it used to be when the housing development was created, trees were put in the tree lawn, except for some reason on my street. I'll never understand, but because it was put in at that time, but not every house has a tree, but we have them in the back, so it works for us. Any questions, Jeff or Dave, on that?
No, I'm good.
Okay,
Okay,
sorry
so
about that.
let me
I just wanted to understand that whole section.
Okay, let me step back for a second. So here is our ending 2020 budget. It's exactly the same as the beginning 2021 budget. So the changes we made, Jan, were in 2020 that were approved on November 12th, where we were putting wages back in because of the COVID wages we had taken out. We put them back in. Same thing with Family Rec Center. We had cut some wages there, made some additional adjustments, but the beginning of 2021 is exactly the same as the ending of 2020. 692,
Thank you.
700,
Thank
692.
you.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. So wireless, again, must have been set up for grant receipt. Petro, that's underground storage tanks. Any police donations that are specific to a certain cause, we would put here. Quiet zone is on Twinsburg Road, I believe, for the delineators. Again, another program grant fund, federal fire grant fund. So a lot of these expenses aren't going to happen. It's just there in case we get that type of a grant. There's a special
Well, the
police.
quiet zone maintenance is actually an expense every year if we have to replace anything.
Right.
And are we sharing that because that was initiated by a resident of Hudson?
Well, they should pay the whole thing.
Like Greg did a hell of a lot of work on it to make it happen. And so I have a lot of people are very thrilled about it because we build houses. The development is built right by the railroad tracks. This makes it that they do not blow the horn, although they're blowing the horn around 82, but they're not to do the horn.
Okay.
They still blow the horn, just to be clear. We have had that issue, not to go too in depth, but if there's someone on the tracks or an animal, they do blow the horn, and they do have to document that. We've had some complaints, and they do, the train engineer has to show us that if we ask for it. And Jan, as you know, we've dealt with the railroad many times, and they're not always the easiest people, but that's what they tell us.
Yeah, it's just the times that they're blowing it, trust me. They're just blowing it to blow it. Now, the good part is by there, and they're putting another one in. It's Hines Hill. There's one. They don't blow their horns at either of the quiet zones, which is nice.
Okay.
Keep
You
going.
done tooting your horn?
Where are we at?
I don't know.
Law enforcement?
Law enforcement, yes. This is another trust fund related to certain types of seizures, as well as the federal equity share, which is usually a seizure related with the federal. Then we have the Corona relief, two separate ones. One was set up specifically for money from Summit County that flowed through Summit County as opposed to the state of Ohio. So who knows? We might be getting more money in 2021.
So right now, there hasn't been any determination for 2021?
No, but every talk I hear of another stimulus package does include local and state government assistance. So I'm hoping we'll be able to spend and put some money in here that equals the revenue that we.
And that's state funded, not federal.
Well, that would be federal through the state. It always flows to the state, unless it's a check directly from your president.
But federal can't figure out what they're doing right now.
Yeah, it would be federal.
They got to pass something or else they're not funded after tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
One of those again, huh? So we could go back to the general fund. You wanted to review building and engineering. Is that what you said?
Yep. Because
Okay.
don't we have him here? I thought we did.
That's
Mr. Gelati is here.
Mr. G, yeah. That way he can speak if there's any questions. That's why we ask for the department head.
yeah. Mr. Gelati most likely will only know about this retainer line because that's where he gets paid out of. So The rest of it is, this would be Nino, Chris Hall, and the two ladies. And part-time if we just throw a number in there in case we need some part-time help. And overtime related to the wages, and then hospitalization related to anybody eligible. Professional fees for, maybe site maps and stuff like that. Contracted services if we need to hire out certain type of inspector that we might not have on staff. Architectural for reviewing the drawings. Any outside engineering that, the home of CV can't handle. I don't know, soil boring or something like that would come out of here. And all the rest are pretty small items. Supplies, office supplies, materials. Joe, you have anything else to add?
No, John V, I think you got it all summed up pretty good right there. Thank you.
Unless
And
I'm missing an outside service that,
And the refunds are if someone did a building permit and didn't use it, or what's in refunds?
No, those building permit and didn't use it happened down here in 700 area. Which we don't have to budget for, so it's not on the list. I don't know what that would be for, because most of the refunds go through the service department for tables and chairs and stuff like that.
Yeah, I didn't know if we gave refunds out of building permits.
No. Those come out of an agency fund, and by Ohio Revised Code, those don't have to be appropriated for. So, anything else in this area?
Anybody have questions? Ask away.
I've got an unrelated question. I was waiting for you to finish up with anything related to Joe.
Okay.
Anybody have anything for Mr. G? He's still at the beach, I see. You're gonna have to quarantine for 6 months.
He's just hiding something that nobody else knows about.
Well, if you have to quarantine, it's best to do it at the beach, right?
These ain't kidding. Okay, any other questions for Mr. G? If not, Kevin, keep going. What's next?
Well, you tell me. We did Parks and Rec, Family Rec Center, Building Engineering. We have already talked about debt.
On the left, would you mind scrolling down to row like 455 area? I just have a question about something that's really just odd. And you probably have a perfect explanation for it.
Spirit of Macedonia?
No, it was under police pension, and there was an area titled indigent drivers.
Oh, and that's over here as well.
And the thing the question I had is under that heading, there's a small tools and equipment budget.
That's when you knock them over the head.
It was 215.210.
215.
Right there, row 478.
Okay.
That just didn't make any sense to me. There's obviously no money in it, but I just didn't understand what the fund existed.
And we didn't use the fund at all in 2020.
Yeah, I just wondered if there's like some reason that fund exists that I'm just not connecting the dots on.
No, and I think, to be honest with you, the fund should be closed, I believe.
Okay. It just jumped out at me because it's at the bottom of a page when you're looking at the printout.
Okay.
There may have been a time that had been used for something and there's nothing budgeted for it.
Yeah, I think at one point, Jan, there was a portion of the court fees that went to indigent drivers, and somebody outlawed that or something, and You're not allowed to have a indigent drivers fund anymore. I can't even tell you what the definition of indigent is, so. Anybody else want to chime in on the definition?
That's
Mr.
one for
It's a
Mr. Geddes.
statutory definition based on income.
Oh, okay.
Wow, that came from the cloud.
It did. And it was a very gray explanation.
I'm here, I promise. I thought that was crystal clear for the record.
Maybe that was a Christmas elf. Elf on the shelf. Okay, anything else? On any of the budget that people have? Our intent tonight, no, we all know that a budget can be amended as we amend throughout the year. So if money doesn't start to come in as anticipated, yep, we go back and, because we hold the checkbook, well, we don't know once, you have to make changes. The other thing is if we suddenly get an influx of dollars and there were projects that were looking to be done that had been held in advance, yep, we can go that route too. So tonight is the night to ask your questions because we're going to go for third reading. And if it's passed and approved, this is our budget for 2021. Then next year, the intent would be that we have quarterly updates of how we're doing. Maybe even need a little more if we don't get out of this COVID situation. But ask your questions now or forever hold your peace.
Feel like Vanna showing you the numbers here.
So, John, I just have a general question on what is the difference between restricted and unrestricted unencumbered cash balance?
Okay, so Dave, restricted is based upon the source of the revenue that comes into that fund. So, for instance, the motor vehicle tax fund can only be used for motor vehicle related expenses. So whatever a motor vehicle drives on, or maybe stops at. Same thing with water maintenance and expansion. That's specific to that fund and had the fund was created for a specific purpose. So you just can't create a fund without approval by the auditors. And it has to have a purpose other than general government operations. So all the general fund sources, 101 through basically 106, make up the unrestricted, because all these get grouped together as the general fund. They allow the segregation down here for our logic purposes of setting money aside for emergency reserve or retirement reserve, our refund program, technology advancement. But when they report it under audited financials, that all gets grouped into general and unrestricted. That makes sense? Okay.
It does, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Anybody else? Ask away. Okay.
I just have a quick clarification.
Okay.
Forefront, we're ending with 2.7 in the general fund? Is that what we're right?
Let me pull that up.
Yeah. Because I think in 2018 or 17, council had said that we wanted to set a goal to have 3 million in the general fund.
Yeah.
And it was probably about 1 million, and we were excited to have like 1.2 back in 2018. So I just wanted to point this out for everyone that we are getting closer to our goal. It's a little bit lower estimate for the end of 2021, but it shifts so that 1.7 for the end of 21 could shift upwards depending how the economy works. But But
Right.
I think it's pretty great that we did a good job to get closer to that $3 million goal that council had set a few years ago. And it was, you know, a different council even. So I just wanted to point that out to everyone that we did a good job and we did a lot of good stuff even in this crazy year.
And Jessica, Ebenezer might surprise you at the end of the year, and that might be over 3 million.
That would be pretty great. We can say our work here is done, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
What was the reason for setting the goal at 3 million? Was it something specific?
It had been doing so poorly just every year before that, right, Jan? It was just the general fund was just low, like under $1 million, I think, before 2018. And of course, this is before the two levies passed. So obviously that was a big boost for us. But I think it was under $1 million.
We had gone through a pretty scary recession and kept the city as whole as we could without doing much of anything. That's why we had to go for the levies with the roads, because we didn't really have the money to do that. 3 million is still not a lot of money in carryover. Most towns hit double-digit millions. So but at least we're going in the right direction. The other intent, which was set a long time ago, is that the emergency reserve, at some point, they would like to grow that from 5 and keep that growing too, so that you not only have a carryover, but you have an emergency reserve as a just in case fallback. So we're headed in the right direction, but we need to look our eyes in keeping towards a 3 and then maybe going even further. Some of these towns have 10, 11, 12, and they're the same size as us. So more businesses come in, COVID goes away, you know, maybe we get businesses that aren't just pure retail. You know, I know the mayor's been working on getting businesses of Ohio waterproofing is a great example, an expansion, which is helping to bring in more money and more revenue. Then we've got, unfortunately, 3 properties that are pretty visible that are empty. On 82, you know, getting those filled. But I don't think a lot of that will happen with COVID because nobody knows who to go. We just got the thing in the mail. Greg and I did from Levin Furniture. They're closing 2 stores permanently.
Well, just so you know, the properties you reference on 82, one is being filled. It's going to the Planning Commission on December 17th. So I'm proud to say that as long as we get through that process, that one will be filled. And you may recall too that in governmental accounting, the goal is always to have 20% of your overall budget carryover. So we are darn close to that, and proud to say that my tenure with the city, we're approaching that very quickly. And in terms of other businesses, since we're talking finances, there's something that the administration, we've been calling the big carrot. It's really close to coming into fruition. And I can tell you when we get to that point, you're going to see a lot of good things coming. And I don't want to speak too early on it, but I can tell you that once the big carrot is complete, we're going to be in a much better position to take care of the needs of the city.
That will be the name of the TIF too, the big carrot.
Any other questions on the budget?
It'll be the line next to the little grant. Put it. No, I have no more questions.
Maybe we'll have to put it in Parks and Rec.
Any other questions? Hello, Chief Ripley. See, your face has shown up. Nice to see you. Nice to see everyone's upright and everyone appears to be healthy. That's a good thing.
I just came in to see about the big carrot. Correct, Mayor?
Well, and unfortunately,
That is our joke.
the governor now has said our curfew is until January. That was today's news. So that 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. is still in place. It was extended for 3 more weeks. So that's going to hurt hurt some business, except, believe it or not, he gave a waiver to the Browns game on Monday, which makes no sense. So if you had tickets to the Browns game, you don't have to leave it at 10. You can stay till the end because it starts at 8. What the heck? Oh. Any other questions
Money talk.
on the budget? If not, then we will put that aside. And if I don't hear anything, you get to vote whatever you want to vote. I don't go through here and ask you, but I am going to put it forward for the third reading tonight and for adoption. Your vote is your vote. You never have to tell us that in advance. Thank you, Mr. Veras.
I ask for your support.
Thank you for the all the information.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the 6,000 pieces of paper.
Yeah.
For our meeting.
Mrs. Tully, if I could say one word to Mr. Veras.
Oh, no.
All right, 2 words. It would be thank you. From my perspective, he's included me in the budget process. We've worked on it together, which in the past, sometimes it happened, sometimes it didn't, and made the process relatively painless. So I just want to thank him for that and what we're accomplishing.
You're welcome, Chief.
Yeah, Chief Ripley, I would agree.
I would concur.
Had previous finance directors that it was side by side. Then they had a little bit of a, I won't talk about it, was more council than it was the finance director. We got in the middle of the whole process. So it's nice to see we're back to where the department heads, and that's why I want the department heads like in the past. The department heads with the finance director presented. You know, I remember we had one meeting that most of council didn't show up. So thank goodness those days are over.
Yes.
Okay, if nothing else, why don't we go into work session? Then if we get done early, we can take, or do we need a 5-minute break? Because we're
Hey, John,
Yeah.
stop sharing your screen.
How do I do that? Oh, wait, hold on.
Go. Yeah.
Right
I
here.
think it's up at the top. I don't know. I can't see where you. Yeah. Yes, that was it. Perfect.
Okay.
And we can't go into work session until 6:45. It's on the agenda.
Okay, so you get a 6-minute break. Welcome back. Everybody here? I see Dave, Jeff. There she is. Santa Claus, Amanda, Mayor. Cool. Okay, we're gonna get started. Can everybody hear me? Never sure if I've got the button on or off, you know? And Jeff, are you a little cold sitting outside in front of the snow?
It's a little frigid, especially in short sleeves.
I don't know, it's 48 today. Tomorrow's 50 something, so. Okay, We're gonna start out with ordinance number 69. Oh, for the approval of the minutes, everyone I hope got my email that said who's gonna do what. Just makes it easier. For the approval of the minutes, we have the November 12th and the special meeting. I'm gonna do the first and Jeff will be the second. Then we come into ordinance 69, which is the sign regulations. Dave, do you have any update on that? I thought we had to have a public meeting, Dave or Mark.
Yeah, council had discussed setting the public hearing on this reading since it's technically impacting the zoning ordinance for January.
So can we do a second reading and then should we set the date today since we don't meet again until January?
You can do both of those, yes.
So, Mr. Finley, do you want to look at your calendar and figure out? Since I know this came through, I believe your team. Do we
Yep.
have a particular date, Mark?
It just has to be 30, yeah, it just has to be
30 days,
30-day period.
right?
So I thought we were going to have it before the January 14th council meeting.
We hadn't finalized it though, so are
Okay.
we gonna do it then?
That would make the most sense.
Yep.
So like at 7:15 on the 14th? Or even at 7, can we do it at 7:20?
No, 7:15, we always set it at 15, just in case someone does show up. We
Okay,
get enough time, so, Dave, once you make the second, can you then also announce the public hearing on the 14th of January at 7:15?
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions on that one? Until we have the public hearing, we really can't take any action on here, so. Okay, number 2 is the one we just spent all the time on with the budget. I'm not gonna review it again. That's me and Jessica. We're gonna go for third reading and adoption, your vote. As I said, your vote. Then we come up to ordinance number 75. This was Jessica and Vinnie. We had a first reading on it. What's the recommendation, Mark?
I don't see any reason to hold it up unless Mr. Veras does.
No, we actually need to pass it before the end of the year, and since I don't think we're having another meeting, I would appreciate second reading and passage.
So we
do.
want second and third with passage.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you.
then we come on to 78, which is the change for cigarettes and vapes, and this is Vinnie's. We did first reading. Mark, do we need a public hearing on this, or can we just take action?
Yeah, this one can be passed. Council, I believe, held it on first read because there was a question that Councilwoman Brandt had raised regarding one of the enforcement sections in A and a B. And I took a look at the state law that this mirrors and the summary that the Legislative Service Commission puts out. And the reason for those two separate sections, one is just the regular prohibition on selling to those underage. And the second section is a signage requirement that has to be posted by those selling, manufacturing, or otherwise distributing those products. So it's recommended to leave it as is.
Jessica, did that answer your question?
Yeah, Mark and I talked about it. I'm good with it. So if we want to go to second and third, I'm fine with that.
Okay, so we're gonna go, Vinnie, this is yours with Dave as the second on it for second, third, and adoption.
Copy.
Okay, then we're gonna go into 79. Mr. Veras, you're up again.
All right.
He had mentioned some of these previously during our budget meetings, but if you want to go over these again, this is amending the current budget to
Correct.
match what we have as expenses.
Correct. When we finalized the service department vehicles for John, it was determined that with all the attachments, we needed to add 30,000 to each vehicle. So 60,000 is being added, and then you also have legislation to approve the financing for the winning bidder. Second one was the road program. Again, as Jan indicated, I had mentioned there was going to be one last TIF related adjustment based upon all the revenue that came in from the TIFs based upon the estimates for those. For the avenue, we had to advance some money in, because what the county was doing, and I pointed it out to them, was they were giving us 100% of the TIF dollars. So the ordinance states, and you would see it in tonight's ordinance, that the county should pay the schools what the schools would receive, even if this ordinance did not exist. So the county was paying, basically taking money from us and giving it to the schools in arrears for what they had forwarded to us in prior years. Luckily, most of the TIFs that they were doing that for hadn't been very long. So that's the rest of the changes for the estimated resources. A couple of changes within groups in the general fund, from one group to the other, no increase in overall dollars. And then I had to add that advance out to the Avenue TIF, which will get paid back in 2021. The FAIR program, I think I mentioned during our finance meeting, as Jan stated, we added $15,000 for training, capital improvement. There's that $60,000, and then the TIF fund changes. So, any questions?
If hearing no questions, I'm going to offer this because we don't have another meeting between now and the end of the year. This is amending the current year's budget. I'm going to ask that we will do first, second, third, and adoption. And Jeff, you're the second on that one. Okay. That was 79. Now we're moving into the 80s.
Okay.
This
Me
is
again?
Disco Lane. Isn't it the 80s?
In the 80s.
Oh, no, that was the 70s. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
So you want to talk about this as the planned capital?
Yeah, we introduced this last year, a program I brought over from Independence where we can set aside money for large purchases, and this is the first year of the recap. So there's a spreadsheet attached that recaps, starts from left to right. IT department, 4 years, $7,500 a year, for a total of $30,000 for a website redesign. Mayor's Court, 2 years of $5,000 each. The first year happening this year, for a biz hub. The police are going to be buying radars over a 3-year period. We're setting $11,000 aside to handle that purchase in the future. Parks and Rec, the Windmill Lakes parking lot, I think we've talked about this, that we are contracted to make improvements to the parking lot when needed. So we are setting aside $99,500 this year, and then $50,000 a year for the next 3 years. And the bucket truck for the service department will be over a 2-year period, $41,000 this year and $79,000 next year. And then this will just keep growing for those that last longer than next year.
Questions?
What is BizHub? I don't remember discussing that. Is that just some software for Mayor's Court?
I'm sorry. BizHub is a copier, fax, modem, or what are the 4 things?
Copy, paste, scan, printer?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, if not, Dave, you're the first, Jessica's the second. If no one has an issue with this, I think we should do this 1, 2, 3 and adopt. Is that correct, Mr. Barros?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Moving right along, this will be Jeff's number 81. I'll be the second. This is for the compensation for the non-union employees. Mayor, do you want to speak to this one?
Yes, so basically this is the increase that was negotiated with the unions going to the employees, adjusting the schedules. It also encompasses the human resources manager, which is currently identified as Before my tenure, the human resources representative, Annette Smith, was going to be moved to the director position, basically a title change by the previous mayor. Upon his departure, when I took over, we didn't get it right away. Then the coronavirus hit. So I'm trying to get this taken care of before the end of the year to basically change her title from human resource manager to director of human resources. I can tell you that Mrs. Smith does director level work, has been for her entire tenure with the city. She does an amazing job. And I think that this is long overdue for her to make this change. And I would ask council to do this on the third read if you would oblige.
And this not only changes the title, but increases the pay because you're going from pay grade 11 to pay grade 12?
Correct.
Or does her pay stay the same?
No, there will be an increase for her. It's around a little less than 5%. So that comes with the title, which again was another thing that was guaranteed to her prior to my arrival. I'm just making it right now.
How much would that increase be, Mayor?
The exact dollar amount, I'm not sure. It's around 5%. I'm not sure the exact number, but it's 5%. I believe she was around the 85 range. So whatever that number would be, I'm not sure.
Mr. Beers, do you know the number?
It's close to 5,000. I don't have an exact number.
Okay, so it's going from 85 to almost 90 or around 90.
But with that, I might add that also brings parity with the director level position, because then at that point, all the directors will have parity in terms of their pay. And I think that that's something that is, again, well deserved by Mrs. Smith.
It looks like it would be under 5,000. Yeah.
Questions? Mr. Garvis, you'll be doing 1, 2, 3 in adoption, unless someone says no. Everyone okay with that? We'll move along then to 82, which is Jessica, second by Mr. Ventura. Jessica, do you want to speak to this?
I mean, I understand it,
The
but
Parks Board always talks about this stuff. We did all the time.
well, we have a as usual, we have a competent Parks and Rec director, so he could speak more to it than I could. Go for it.
So basically, we are in a unique situation where we had had the opportunity to pass on some old equipment that we have in the facility. Some of the equipment literally we're just pushing to the side, 18 years old, no life left in it. A couple of the other pieces we feel we can get a little bit of money back for, so we thought let's put these items to auction. And what we'd like to do is be able to auction off these items and essentially be able to roll that back in to our operation and help us with a couple dollars of getting some new fitness equipment down the road. This is just an opportunity for us to pass on some older items that our community has used for a long time and be able to move forward with getting some new items that we've already previously budgeted for.
Do you have an idea when this would happen if we adopt this tonight? So
well, if we can get first, second, third and adoption tonight, then next week I will start the process of getting us prepared to auction these items off. We will get the remainder of the equipment that is sitting around the third lane of the track downstairs into our activity room. And you guys know as well as I do, it's a matter of how long it takes to auction it off at that point. So we'd like to get rid of as much as we can now through the end of 2020, so we can get other items in the facility and get our activity room back to being a programmable room as we start the Q1 of 21.
But if you have that next week, when would you expect the auction to begin, and how long does the auction last?
I can actually not answer that at all for you right now. I'll have to research because I've never used the particular auction resource that we're going to use unless anyone else here has.
By ordinance, so this is set up with Gov Deals, unless you had somebody else in mind, Jason, council would need to amend it. there's a minimum 15-day auction period by our local code that it would have to remain up for.
Okay.
And how
So
soon do
basically,
they start? Mark,
so basically we can get it posted as soon as possible. Minimum 15 days of posting is what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that works perfect for us. We could start that process next week.
the only reason being is I want the public of this community to know, because certain people may use one piece of equipment over and over and have become very accustomed to it, and this might be their opportunity to purchase.
I have 3 people in the community waiting for me to come in to work out tomorrow morning because they want to know when they can buy their favorite elliptical.
Yeah.
I've been being asked for 3 weeks. When are you going to council? December 10th.
So Jason, if I win one, will you deliver it?
I believe that is against the rules for us to be able to do.
I understand.
I wish I could.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, with the recumbent bike, can't you just take it off the machine and ride it home? I don't see, did this before with the treadmills, so that's why you're not seeing treadmills on here. So that's been done in the past. I just got a new one anyhow, but I was thinking elliptical might be a good cross training.
It could be, and we also have an old Aerodyne bike if you'd like to bid on that.
That would be something I'd be
I have
interested.
used, in the weight room, I have used all of those. It's like, okay. I didn't like a lot of them, so I would want to bid on them, but any other questions? If not, Jessica? 1, 2, 3, and go. And Vinny's your second. Then we come to ordinance number, God, we're already to 83. Dave will be the author, Jeff will be the second. Mayor, or is John on? Not
He's here. This is for the hook lift trucks that we discussed in the finance meeting, John. I'm sure you could add more than I could.
Yeah, these are for 2022 F-750 dump trucks. As the mayor said, these are hook lifts. What that means is that the dump bed would actually come off of the unit, and then a salt spreader that will be placed on. They're multi-use vehicles. One of the good things with having trucks like these, as we phase them out, we keep the attachments, the salt spreader and bed, because they are going to be stainless, all stainless steel. So then future purchases it's just for cabin chassis, which will also be less money to spend in the future. There are other attachments that come with these vehicles, such as leaf machines. You can have them on there as well, where they're controlled from the inside of the cab, so limiting your staffing and also your work zone, keeping yourself in one vehicle. So like I said, a multi-use vehicle, and very good to have. They're a little bit of a lower profile truck than some of our larger ones, but handle the same payload. So they should handle just fine.
And another piece to that too, it's going to give us consistency with our trucks, because Mrs. Tully, you may remember when we had to scramble to buy trucks in the past, and we had a hodgepodge of different vehicles that find their way to the repair shop quite often. So we're going to start to establish some consistency with those vehicles, which will ultimately, hopefully, save us money. So they're more cost effective.
You got all the details you could ever want about these vehicles. Luckily, I have somebody downstairs who used to be a snowplow driver. I could just say, hey, tell me if this is good, bad, or ugly. Any questions anyone have for the mayor?
President Tully, I'll just mention, as you just heard with Mr. Nadavange talking about it, and throughout the ordinance, it does mention the service department. The first whereas clause, there is an erroneous reference to the fire department. If council wants to clean that up, they can do so with a motion to amend.
Mr. Finley, when you offered for first, second, and third, then can you make the amendment to change the first whereas, to change the City of Macedonia Fire Department to the City of Macedonia Service Department? We then will all have to accept that. Then it can go to adoption. Usually we give these to Vinny, but do you want me to change this to Vinny?
Actually, no.
Vinny knows.
Okay.
No, wait, we don't have to add it. You just need to make the amendment. So offered first, second, and third. Mr. Finley, then make the amendment to change the first whereas, and then you can go to the adoption phase if there are no questions. Got it?
Thank you.
And Jan, I think you were directing that at me.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
I
it's,
thought
you mean,
if anybody,
you mean
we have
Jeff.
any, we have to add, that would only be for Vinny if we have any new legislation to add. He does that well. He's got those steps now. Any questions on that?
What he's saying is you assign that to him as making the motion and Dave is seconding it. Am I correct, Mr. Garvis?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
So it'll be Jeff making the amendments, not Dave.
So Jeff, you got it?
Yep, we're all good.
Okay. No, you're not good. You're excellent. Never say you're good. You're always excellent. Okay, number 84. This is actually, I would assume Mr. Vera's paying for what we just talked about.
Correct. And we sent it out asking for 3 quotes. One bank decided not to quote, and the winning bidder was 1.3%.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's great.
Although,
great.
per my inside information, this is going to stick around for about 2 more years.
Okay.
I have somebody who works for the feds.
Okay.
So why does the
This is
amount
a
say
good thing. If you got to buy
estimated?
anything, you gotta do it now.
Why does the amount say estimated 414 or 621? And I see you highlighted the 414. Was
Right.
that just before they had the exact numbers?
No, we are deciding between 2 vehicles or 3 vehicles.
Okay.
And we just thought we'd get a price on 3 vehicles to see what that would be. But
All right.
that's why. Good question.
Any other questions? This is Jan and Jess. If hearing nothing, because we're probably going to adopt that we're going to buy, we agree to buy them. We should adopt that we're going to figure out how to pay for them unless someone wants to give the city a Christmas gift. I can't do that. Okay. Next up, 85. Mayor, would you like to speak to 85? This is Vinny's going to be the first. I'll be the second.
Sure. So generally in the beginning of the year, we assign all the duties for all the different committees that we're on. We didn't do that one. Generally that meeting's very long and sometimes contentious, not anymore, thank God. But we never assigned the person. Back then we talked about Mr. Garvis assuming that role. We generally meet once a year in December. We're coming up on that meeting here very soon. So I just wanted to put this through to make it official so that Mr. Garvis can assume the role that Mr. Bilkey vacated, because the role is for the entire tenure of your time on council, and Mr. Ventura is the other member of the JED board. So I am looking to appoint Mr. Garvis with your guys' approval.
Questions? Mr. Garvis, are you okay with this? We figure if we ask anybody, we ask you.
Yeah, no, I actually was under the impression that we'd already done it in January, but I was wrong.
Yeah, and
We all-
well, council,
We all kind of thought it'd been done, so that's
Yeah.
okay.
so if I could just add, so council can certainly do it, and I believe council actually did pass a motion, and that's certainly fine. Throughout this year, there's been a little bit of consternation regarding the JED with the township. So this is more of a formal action for auditing, record keeping purposes. If anybody asks if the votes were authorized, you can produce this document. So it's more of a
Housekeeping.
assistance for the future, essentially.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And just remember what the mayor said. You just agreed to do this for all of your term.
Understood.
Unless you make that move to Hawaii. Okay. All right. Hearing any other discussion on this one, otherwise, Mr. Ventura, 1, 2, 3, adopt. That way there's no confusion between the resolution and the, I guess this is resolution number 2. And I'm the second on that. Okay, moving on to 86. Dave, would you like to speak to this one? This is actually he is the originator of this piece of legislation.
Sure. So I wanted to make this originally an ordinance to basically nullify the governor. But after discussing this with Mr. Goodetti, it wasn't worth the time and effort to fight the likely ensuing lawsuit. So I'm merely introducing this as a resolution to do our due diligence for the residents and business owners hurting under the thumb of the governor. And I understand that some of this could be controversial, but hopefully we can have rational discussion. Each week, residents and business owners, cringe to hear what DeWine will do next and feel like they are being held hostage. I've spoken to some business owners in town, and they're constantly wasting resources to stay open and meet his ever-changing demands with the fear that they could be shut down the next day. So this is no way to do business, and several folks are struggling and closing up for good. The statistics show that a very specific sector of the population is affected negatively by the virus. For example, people under age 70 have a 99.95% survival rate, whereas people over 70 have a 95% survival rate. It's clear that we need to focus protection to the vulnerable and infirm. In order to do that, I'm proposing that the governor, abide by the Great Barrington Declaration to protect the vulnerable and let the rest of us live our lives how we see fit and assess the risk for ourselves. We all do this on a regular basis, and we tolerate risk differently. So a one-size-fits-all approach is not rational. So I hope you had a chance to review the declaration and are in support of this resolution.
Questions? I was looking for a piece of paper. Mark, maybe you could help me. Is there not something before the House or the Senate right now that a bill that was sponsored by Ms. Rogner, and I know I believe Mr. Weinstein was a yay when I went and looked at that because I had never seen that before. Is there not a bill before the
There was, Mr. Finley and I had discussed that, and I believe the governor vetoed it.
I didn't know if it had passed yet or not, because when I looked at it the other day, it still hadn't gotten to him.
Yeah, I believe last week it was vetoed, if I recall correctly.
So he can veto it and they can bring it back and override.
Theoretically, yeah.
Yeah. Questions about this piece, this resolution? Did everybody get a chance to read it and actually look at what the Barrington is? And I read the one that was before the state, pretty much identical. And it was pretty interesting to see how many people had approved it. It actually passed in the House and in the both places. So like I said, it was interesting across political boundaries too. It wasn't one or the other. Okay, hearing none, I think my recommendation, don't take this the wrong way, Mr. Finley, is we do it for first reading. Give the public a chance to speak to us since we represent them.
Absolutely, I agree 100%.
I know I already have one person who, even before this came to us, was very much into what can be done. I hear that a lot. So I don't think we'd have a public hearing, but we would recommend that anyone, we do first reading, which means it will not need a second. And then Dave, when you do that, then recommend people please put forth your thoughts and share them with us so we, have some feel for what's going on out there. Everyone okay with that?
Yeah, I would
Affirm.
like to ask that maybe he ask people to email Amanda with questions just so we can get them distributed, because I don't want to have a lopsided view of responses if everyone's just responding to Dave or just responding to Vinny or Jan. So you could just make sure, Dave, that you ask people to contact Amanda so she can distribute people's views.
That's usually what we do is we ask that any concerns, questions goes to the clerk of council so that the clerk of council can distribute. Okay, if nothing more on that one, oh my gosh, we're down to 87. Mr. Ventura, you're going to offer, and Jessica will be the second. Can you talk about this since you're the one who worked on this?
Yes, number one, Mrs. Tully, we're going to keep this at first read also, so that we can get any possible input from the residents. But I was approached in my front yard several times about the pods, about pods for extended periods of time, not just because they're there, but because of the length of time they've been there. And I didn't have an answer. So I had contact with Mr. Hall to see if we had any regulation on that. And he says it was interesting that, I'm asking because he was getting the complaints on one particular pod in general that he was already working on. And a lot of the ones with the big green bags that sit in people's front yards after work being done on their house for extended periods of time. So we got together and along with Mr. Guidetti to make sure, we were legally within our means to regulate that. And it's just an eyesore that people just don't want to look at when they're going throughout the city of having these big boxes in front yards. Now, there was one in an area that he had a small one, and it was there probably for a good 6-8 months. It was removed, and then I got grabbed yesterday again while cutting up some branches across the street. Somebody walking down the street grabbed me again and made sure I was who they thought I was and asked me if I'd been down to the bottom of the street. And now got rid of the small one, and he's got 2 large ones sitting in the middle of the driveway. And it is definitely an eyesore. I did take pictures of it in case there was a question by anyone. Don't know how long they're going to be there. There's no regulation in place yet. And trying to make it a very minor infraction, but so that the city has some type of, I don't want to use the word control, but the fact that there's some kind of regulation so we know about these, how long they're going to be there, and that we can at least go to them and say, okay, you're past that time. There is an extension if you need it, and you need to reapply for the permit to have that sitting there. I talked about it with other people. The dumpsters, the overall dumpsters, the big ones, the 20-yard and the 40-yard dumpsters, along with the big green bags, pose a safety hazard to the neighborhoods that they're in. Children go running across the yard, and you don't know what they're going to step into if they land on the subject matter in the bags. And there's been occasion where there's been dumpsters left for an extended time, where sometimes they're full, sometimes they're empty. They've been replaced. If a child gets in one of those and can't get out, there's going to definitely be an issue. And I think we need to be able to legally look at those and have some type of regulation on those. Thank you.
So if you read this, you'll see that it's a request for a permit. The permit's only $5. It's good for 30 days. And there's some construction that can take more than 30 days when you're doing a renovation. So there is an offer that you can go back to the building official to request more time. And also at that time, just, whoever's doing the work would demonstrate why they need more time and if it's going to be more than 30 days. Unfortunately, some homes, I can think of one that just sold, probably needs about 6 months or more work on it. Just based on the age, and there was no one living there for quite a while. So it's a way then to put this together whether it be the dumpster bags, which I haven't seen very many. The pods I see, but that's because we got a house that's selling up and down the street here. Any questions? And Mark, you did review this, so we're cool legally?
Yeah, there's certainly not every municipality has this, but there are some other communities which Mr. Hall actually took a look at and put a draft together. I reviewed the draft. I made some recommendations just to basically try to clean it up a little bit. But I think you accurately summarized its effectiveness.
I've got a question for Vinny. And I looked at the ordinance and I saw the 30 days in there, but the way it's written, you can't show up at a property with one until you have that permit in hand. Had we considered or even talked about maybe the potential of, if there's a contractor that already has other permits to do work on a property, they'd be able to bring a dumpster out for like a single day, fill it up and leave with it, and not have to go through City Hall to get a permit before they could do that work? Is that muddying the water for me?
I don't think it would be muddying anything. I don't think anybody would be objective to a single day in and out. If you're pulling in with a rig that has one on there, and you're going in and doing the work, and you're taking it right back out with you.
Right.
That's one of the
and the things that from watching my neighbor have a company come out, and they had it out front, and it was there for maybe a day. I could see, honestly, what I could see is people just not complying and just showing up with it, loading it, and leaving. To be honest with you, right?
Well, a good example is number one, if you're renovating a house, is a lot different than putting on a new roof.
Correct.
Where you'll see that 1 or 2 day things at the most is somebody putting on a new roof.
Yeah, it's a great point, because they brought one of those portable ones when they ripped my roof off.
Right. And most of the time they stay on the truck because they elevate them to reach the house.
Yep.
To reach the roof line. So that's not an issue. That's
to your point, Mr. Garvis, they would have to get a permit prior to under this section, right?
Yeah, so I wanted to labor it now. Maybe it's worth considering since we're only on first reading, right?
Yeah, and I think if I understand Mr. Garvis's point, which is a very valid point, especially when we have those trees come through, we have that wonderful sheer wind that takes a tree down. If you know you're only going to do it for a day, is there a way to make an allowance for 1 day that they don't have to get a permit? So that's something I agree Mr. Garvis should be looked at. Because I think of, the work that's being done right now behind my house with all the trees and that. Do they have to get a permit to bring in a dumpster to take that all away if we pass this?
Did we separate residential from other means, Mr. Guidetti?
It's defined as residential.
Right.
And the issue that I could foresee would be, how do you know it's only been there for 1 day versus 2 days?
Right.
Is
exactly.
the next question.
Usually in those instances, again, they're already on a rig, and they're leaving with that rig at the end of the day.
Right.
Well, I wouldn't object to adding wording to it that says if you have to get a permit if you plan to have a dumpster, a pod, or a bag for more than 24 hours. I would think that if you have a project planned, you know that you're going to need a dumpster or a pod, or if you're doing moving or if you're doing storage, you would need it for more than 24 hours. Then that's part of your planning, is to come get the permit. Something that's going to be, less than 24 hours. If a roofer's going to blow in, if you're going to have a 1 day project, if you're pulling out, most people actually can't afford to have a dumpster for a small project for more than 24 hours. So it might behoove us to put in something that says, if it's going to be there for more than 24 hours, we want you to get that permit. Otherwise it's of no consequence to us. So, and it's
Mr. Guidetti, can we add that?
It still has the same end, means to end, with City's intent for this is to keep people from plunking those in their yard and keeping them for days and months at a time. Nobody, you're not going to complain. My neighbors had a pod for like 6 days because they were having their garage floor done. it didn't even faze me because, I know that they're not going to keep it there. But for residents that do have a problem with it, with their neighbors causing these, now they have something to point to. So I would think most residents wouldn't care if their neighbor had a dumpster for 24 hours, but I think maybe we want to force people into this this ordinance and the permitting. Make plans. If you're making plans to have this long-term thing, make plans to get a permit for it.
Well, and then we also need to clarify, because if I read the pods, it's all residential, but when it comes to the dumpster bags, it's private or public property. It doesn't say residential. So if we're going to be consistent, should it not say residential and not say private property? Because the church is a private property, store is a private.
But again, you have a safety issue there, a safety concern that someone else brought up to me about if we don't know they're there and we have no regulation to them, how long are you going to let them stay there before, if they're full? How long are you going to, allow this?
My question isn't that. My question is, above is residential, and we say this is residential, but when we come to dumpster bags, it talks about private and public.
Yeah, the pods are residential, so it'll be up to council if they want to limit the rest of the ordinance in that manner. Mr. Ventura, I believe you're requesting some language to carve out that 24-hour exception. So I'll work some language up in that regard and send it out, and council can modify the ordinance before they give it a second and third reading.
And you'll look at dumpster bags because it's kind of a conflict. Dumpster bags allows private where.
Well, it is. It is.
So what do I do if they put, somebody lives next door to another, not a residential, and they put a pot on for, or a dumper, they have bags because it's allowed, dumpster bags. So that the entire legislation, it's either talking one or the other or both, and both pods and dumper bags should be the same.
How can we readjust that, Mr. Guidetti?
That's up to you. If you guys tell me what you want, I'll draft the language up. So if you want to limit the entire thing to residential, I'll modify it.
Or you can do the inverse of that, Vinny, and you could apply it to all private property, right? That's the opposite. Where Jane's getting at it, the rule is she wants it applied, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, applied to both types of property, right?
Or you're only doing residential, but you can't have two things that said one or the other. So we'll do first reading, and then you can come back in January with the new language, Mr. G and Mr. V. So first reading, guess you know what that means, Jess.
Oh, yeah, we plan on first reading anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm just making sure Jess knows, no second. Then when we come time to adjourn, I think I gave that to Jess and Dave. Right? Cool? Okay. It's all yours, Mayor.
All right.
Guys.
Myself set up here. Okay, hello and welcome to the December 10th council meeting. It is 7:30 p.m. Will Ms. Traska please call the roll?
Ms. Rand?
Here.
Mr. Finley?
Here.
Mr. Garvis?
Here.
Mrs. Tully?
Here.
And Mr. Ventura?
Here.
Thank you. Next, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next is the approval of minutes. Does anyone want to make a motion for the approval of minutes?
I make a motion to approve the regular meeting scheduled for November 12th and the special meeting December 3rd.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
I have not had the time the appropriate amount of time to review the minutes. It's only been in the last 48 hours. That meeting was 4 months ago. I checked the website to see if I could read them on the website. There's been nothing posted on the website since October 8th. I didn't even have the opportunity to look them up.
You know, the
So
ones we're approving are November 12th and December 3rd.
Right.
It came to us in the agenda, which by law has to be at least 48 hours before, and they came out more than 48 hours. Did you get that?
I got them with the agenda, okay? But going over the agenda and all this legislation and the budget and so forth, I still work. I did not have the amount of time needed. That
It's
is
just
why
the way you stated it. I thought you said something from 4 months ago. No, these are the most current meetings, so it's okay to say no.
4 weeks ago, that meeting was. We had 4 weeks where we did not have the opportunity to read those minutes.
We normally
Not
don't send
once.
until the agenda. That has been tradition since I joined city council.
Okay, moving on to public comments. Ms. Traska, do we have any public comments this evening?
No, we do not.
Thank you. Then we'll go right into pending or new legislation. First up is ordinance number 69.
I move to offer ordinance number 69, 2020 for its first and second reading.
Just
By
second,
title only.
Dave. Just second, Dave. Just the
Just
second.
second. Okay, yeah, for second reading by title only.
An ordinance amending chapter 1133 of the codified ordinance of the city of Macedonia relative to the sign regulations.
Thank you.
Dave's gonna announce that meeting.
Yeah, I move to add a public hearing for ordinance 69, 2020 at 7:15 p.m. on January 14th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Ordinance number 74.
I'd like to offer ordinance number 74, 2020 for its second and third reading by title only, please.
Just the third.
It's just the third, Ms. Tully.
Oh,
I second the third.
oh, I'm sorry. I had written it down.
Go ahead, Amanda.
I amend my motion to have ordinance number 74, 2020 read for its third reading.
Second.
An ordinance providing for the 2021 annual appropriations for the city of Macedonia, Ohio.
Mr. Veras, can you touch on this? I know we just had our finance meeting this evening, but is there anything you'd like to add or discuss regarding the budget for 2021?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to thank council. As Jan has stated in the past, it's good to go into the year with a full budget, and it shows proper planning, and that's what we did over the last 2 months was proper planning, and I ask council to pass it tonight.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, what is your pleasure?
I make a motion that we pass and post according to law ordinance number 74, 2020, please.
Second.
Roll call.
All right, couldn't get it to unmute. Ms. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Finley,
No.
Mr. Garvis,
Yes.
Mrs. Tully,
Yes.
and Mr. Ventura.
Yes.
Ordinance number 74 passes. Thank you, council and the administration, for all the hard work on this. We've been working on this for the better part of several months, so I appreciate your time and efforts and working to get a good budget for hopefully a more pleasant 2021.
I'd like to personally say thank you to Mr. Veras for all his work, and every question was answered, and resending paper and resend again. And especially the 2 times that he took the time to print it out for all of us so that we didn't have to try and print it. We could actually just come pick it up and be prepared. So thank you, Mr. Barris.
And if I could add to that, I'd like to thank you for the one-on-one session you had, just doing the intro to finance, as well as dropping off a packet at my house without even being asked to.
No problem.
Kudos to you, Mr. Veras. We like you. All right, moving on to ordinance number 75.
I'd like to present ordinance number 75, 2020 for its second and third reading by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
An ordinance declaring improvements to certain parcels of real property to be a public purpose, describing the public improvements to be made which directly benefit such parcels, requiring the owners of the improvements on such parcels to make service payments in lieu of taxes, establishing a clean land municipal public improvement tax increment equivalent fund for the deposit of such service payments pursuant to Ohio Revised Code sections 5709.40, 5709.42 and 5709.43, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, I will ask Director Veras to give the explanation, considering he is the TIF guru. I'm surprised he didn't name one of his children Tiffany because he's so good at this, but I'll allow you to explain, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. What we're going to do here is TIF, the Cleveland car wash, which will allow us to use money that would have went to the county via property tax payments. No increase in payments for clean land. We just get those dollars back to us after they make their normal property tax payment, and we can use it for any of the infrastructure, public infrastructure improvements listed in the ordinance.
Thank you.
That's it, Mayor.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, what is your pleasure?
I move that we pass and post ordinance 75, 2020, the same according to law.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Brandt?
Yes.
Mr. Finley?
Yes.
Mr. Garvis?
Yes.
Mrs. Tully?
Yes.
And Mr. Ventura?
Yes.
Ordinance number 75 passes. Ordinance number 78.
I wish to move to offer ordinance number 78 for its second and third reading by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance amending section 537.16 of the codified ordinances of the City of Macedonia relative to the distribution, possession, and use of cigarettes, vapor products, or other tobacco products.
Director Guidetti and/or Councilor Ventura?
We worked on that just to try to line ourselves up with the state statute, and that any enforcement actions taken would be on a local level and not on a state level if necessary. It's not that we're going to sit anybody in Speedway or Giant Eagle to watch and see if they've purchased any of these projects. But if we have a serious complaint that needs enforcement action, it can stay on a local level.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, what is your?
I move to adopt ordinance number 78, 2020, and post the same according to law.
Do you have a
Second.
second?
Second. Sorry.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Ms. Brandt?
Yes.
Mr. Finley?
No.
Mr. Garvis?
Yes.
Mrs. Tully?
Yes.
And Mr. Ventura?
Yes.
Ordinance number 78 passes. Ordinance number 79.
Mr. Ray, I'd like to offer ordinance number 79, 2020 for its first, second, and third reading by title only, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
An ordinance amending ordinance number 92-2019 relative to current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Macedonia for the period of January 1, 2020 to December 31st, 2020.
Director Veras?
Thank you, Mayor. As mentioned in caucus tonight, a couple small changes to the final amendment 2020 budget. 60,000 was added, 30,000 each for the hook lift trucks that the service department is going to be purchasing here shortly. And within our TIFs, I adjusted the revenue sources and the expenses accordingly now that we are able to get those exact numbers after the second distribution county and then the homestead distribution from the state of Ohio. That's it.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, to ask that we pass and post according to law, ordinance number 79, 2020, please.
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Brandt?
Yes.
Mr. Finley?
Yes.
Mr. Garvis?
Yes.
Mrs. Tully?
Yes.
And Mr. Ventura?
Yes.
Ordinance number 79 passes. Ordinance number 80.
I move to offer ordinance number 80, 2020 for its first, second, and third readings by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
An ordinance approving use of the City of Macedonia Planned Capital Purchase Program for certain planned capital purchases.
Director Veras?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, we discussed this in caucus, and what it is a summary of the first year of the city being able to set aside money via encumbering the funds with a purchase order for long-range purchases, and there's a detail attached to the ordinance.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, what is your pleasure?
I move to adopt ordinance number 80, 2020 and post the same according to law.
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Brandt?
Yes.
Mr. Finley?
Yes.
Mr. Garvis?
Yes.
Mrs. Tully?
Yes.
And Mr. Ventura?
Yes.
Ordinance number 80 passes. Ordinance number 81.
Mr. Mayor, I move to offer ordinance 81, 2020 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
An ordinance number 69-2019 relative to the compensation schedule for the non-union city employees of Macedonia.
Director Veras?
You want me to speak to this? You spoke to this in caucus.
I'm sure we both could, but basically this is, I'm sorry, I'll give the synopsis here. Basically, this is moving our HR manager, Mrs. Smith, from HR manager to HR director. It's also for the increase that was agreed upon with the unions that goes with the non-bargaining unit. Is that a good explanation, Mr. Veras?
Yes. Basically adding 2% across the board to all levels, except for your explanation.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, what is your pleasure?
I move to adopt and pass post according to law ordinance 81, 2020.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Brandt?
Second.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay. Ms. Brandt?
Yes.
Mr. Finley?
Yes.
Mr. Garvis?
Yes.
Mrs. Tully?
Yes.
And Mr. Ventura?
Yes.
Ordinance number 81 passes. I'd like to thank council for this one. As we alluded to in the work session, I can allude to the fact that Mrs. Smith works very hard and has been operating at a director level for a very long time. And I know that she is probably gleaming with happiness at this point because this was a long time coming. So thank you very much for that. Resolution number 82.
Mayor, I make a motion, I move to offer a resolution number 82, 2020 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
A resolution authorizing the disposition of certain municipal property by the Parks and Recreation Department of the City of Macedonia in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code Section 721.15.
Director Chaddick?
Thank you, Mayor. This will be an opportunity for the Macedonia Family Recreation Center to be able to auction off some old items of equipment that in some cases we have had the equipment 14 to 18 years, and it'll be a good opportunity for someone else to get the final little bit of life out of it, and it'll be a great chance for us to get some new equipment into the center and help serve our community.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, what is your pleasure?
I move that we pass and post resolution number 82, 2020, according to law.
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Grant?
Yes.
Mr. Finley?
Yes.
Mr. Garvis?
Yes.
Mrs. Tully?
Yes.
And Mr. Ventura?
Yes.
Resolution number 82 passes. Ordinance number 83.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance 83, 2020 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
And I would like, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to make a motion, but I think you need to read the title first, right?
Yes. She needs to
Okay.
read it
Yep.
first.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to purchase vehicles and equipment for the City of Macedonia Service Department.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the first whereas clause to read City of Macedonia Service Department where it currently reads City of Macedonia Service Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Being where it currently reads fire department, does he have to make that motion again? Or is it implied?
No, he's fine.
Okay. You
Director
said service
Nottavan?
department twice, that's all.
You're right, I did. I even typed it out that way.
You're fine.
Thank you.
Director Nottavan?
Thank you, Mayor. It's for the purchase of two 2022 Ford F-750 dump trucks, but these are hook lifts. What they are is that the bed comes detached from the unit, and then we'll have a salt spreader attachment to go on with it as well. Work session discussing with this, that it's allow us to keep these implements for future purchases of vehicles. Then we'll only be buying cab and chassis and just the hook lift system itself. We won't have to buy the extra additions with like the dump body or the salt spreader for it, and even the plow that's coming with the truck. These are also replacing two units that I believe Councilman Tully, you may have been the only one on council at the time, in 2004. They were emergency purchases these are the trucks that are getting replaced. They were bought down in Southern Ohio because there was none available at that time, and that's where they had to find to purchase them. And this is also allowing us to get into more of a uniform body of trucks. Like the Mayor mentioned earlier in our work session as well, we have a hodgepodge, kind of different manufacturing of trucks. We're trying to get ourselves on board with, streamline ourselves to be more efficient with our repairs and dealing with one type of unit instead of multiple. So this is on the road to the right track to do so.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, what is your pleasure?
I'd like to move that we post and pass according to law ordinance 83, 2020.
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Brandt?
Yes.
Mr. Finley?
Yes.
Mr. Garvis?
Yes.
Mrs. Tully?
Yes.
And Mr. Ventura?
Yes.
Ordinance number 83 passes. Ordinance 84.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 84, 2020 for its first, second, and third reading by title only, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into agreement with KeyBank to finance equipment and vehicles for the service department.
So essentially, this ordinance is for the purchase to finance those, and we got that at a 1.3% rate. Mr. Veras, anything else you'd like to add?
No, I can't top that, so.
Thank you. Any other discussion? What is your pleasure?
I move that we pass and post according to law ordinance number 84, 2020, please.
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Finley,
Yes.
Mr. Garvis,
Yes.
Mrs. Tully,
Yes.
and Mr. Ventura.
Yes.
Ordinance 84 passes. Resolution number 85.
Mayor, I would like to move to offer resolution number 85, 2020, and have read by title only for its first, second, and third reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll abstain on that.
A resolution confirming the mayor's appointment of Jeff Garvis to serve as a member of the board of directors of the Northfield Center Township, Macedonia Joint Economic Development District.
So essentially, this piece of legislation is the appointment of one of the two people that are on the board for the JED, with the vacancy left by Mr. Bilkey leaving council. Mr. Garvis is going to assume that role with passage this evening. Any other discussion?
I move to adopt resolution number 85, 2020, and post according to law.
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Finley,
Yes.
Mr. Garvis,
Abstain.
Mrs. Tully,
Yes.
and Mr. Ventura.
Yes.
Resolution number 85 passes. Resolution number 86.
I move to offer resolution number 86, 2020 for its first reading by title only.
Mr. Finley, since this is your piece of legislation.
Sure. I understand that for some, this is controversial. However, with rational and dispassionate discourse, I hope that you will see that this resolution is needed and reasonable. Governor DeWine has used his office abusively to take Ohioans hostage. We cringe each week to see what he will do next to take away our freedoms and economic livelihoods. I've spoken to business owners in town, and they are constantly wasting resources to open and meet his ever-changing demands with the fear that they could be shut down the next day. This is no way to do business, and several folks are struggling and closing up for good. Do we want to live in a society where basic freedoms are conditional on the decisions of politicians enthralled to our public health advisors, most of whom couldn't hack it in medical school but found a home in government to feel important in public society? Is it worth it? I say no. Guidance is acceptable. Voluntary isolation is fine and strongly recommended for those that are more susceptible to hospitalization. But coercion is not acceptable, and there is no moral or principled justification for it. What kind of life do we think we are protecting? There is more to life than the avoidance of death. Life is a drink with friends, a crowded football game, or a live concert. Life is family celebration with children and grandchildren. Life is companionship, an arm around one's back, laughter or tears shared at less than 6 feet. These are not optional extras. These are life itself. These are fundamental to our humanity as social beings. A mere biological life is just not worth living. However, opposing the governor's mandates is not a useful endeavor if we cannot provide a rational alternative that we can all agree on. As such, I would like for council to recommend that the governor back away from his current handling of the pandemic and adopt the principles outlined in the Great Barrington Declaration, so named for the city in Massachusetts where it was signed, by 3 infectious disease epidemiologists. They did so because they have grave concerns about the damaging physical and mental impacts of the prevailing COVID-19 policies and recommend an approach called focused protection. What I want to close with for my fellow council members is that people who are living in irrational fear of the virus already have their representatives. The entire entertainment world, the media, virtually all of the political class. For the rest of us, we have almost no one. People's family members have died because their routine procedures were canceled. Or people who have poured their hearts and everything they have to start a business to see it crushed and destroyed. Or people who think they can best judge for themselves what life they want to live, have no one to speak for them, and no one will speak for them except us. Some people will hate you for it and call you a grandma killer. The automatons that can do nothing but repeat CBS News talking points will think we're all terrible. The rest will consider us heroes. There is no one coming to the rescue. We must be the voice of the voiceless, because if it's not us, it will be no one. I hope that we can coalesce and pass this resolution. I also would like the residents to provide their thoughts on this resolution, and any correspondence regarding this resolution should be sent to the Clerk of Council, Ms. Traska. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor, could we have a read the legislation?
Sure.
A resolution opposing the Ohio Governor's COVID-19 executive orders.
Thank you, Mr. Finley. Thank you, Jeff. Amanda.
Ordinance number 87.
Okay, Mayor, I would like to move to offer ordinance number 87, 2020 for its first reading only by title only.
An ordinance creating Chapter 1387 of the City of Macedonia's codified ordinances relative to the portable on-demand storage devices, or pods, construction dumpsters, and dumpster bags.
Councilor Ventura.
This has been gone over by both myself and the building department. There was complaints on both sides through both entities, myself and the building department, about pods not just necessarily being in a driveway, but being there for extended periods of time. And I'm not talking about a week or two. I'm talking about 6 to 8 months. There's one that I got called on again yesterday, or somebody asked me about personally. They removed the small one and put 2 big ones in their driveway. Now they got 2 large ones. And that was the residence that has had it there for most of 2020. Mr. Hall from our building inspector had another one with a pod issue and another development, and he had conversation with that resident. There's also, most of his complaints come from those green garbage bags that sit open on lawns or in front yards for extended periods of time, which somebody else brought up to me that they feel that they present a hazard sitting out for an extended period of time without any regulation to children or animals or anybody else in the area, as far as dumpsters and the green bags. Dumpsters also, children can climb into those, may not be able to get out. They could climb into them to see what they can scavenge out of them. That's a dangerous situation if nobody's manning those and they've been there for extended periods of time. And so I along with the building department, put together this regulation because when I called him, I didn't have an answer to the question of the people that called me. So when I don't have an answer, I go to somebody that should have an answer or does. And there had been no regulation on any of these items whatsoever. And so goes this proposed ordinance.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other motions or legislative actions? Hearing none, do we have any correspondence to the clerk?
No.
Okay. We'll move into the mayor's report. First and foremost, I want to wish anyone who celebrates it a happy Hanukkah. I believe it begins tonight at midnight. I want to talk a little bit about November 30th, 2020. We had a snow event that I'm sure we're all very aware of. Our service department was operating with half of the staff that we normally do. Basically, that means we have 16 full-time employees in that department, and we had 8. So you can imagine that the task of removing the snow from the roads and keeping them clear was daunting, to say the least. I will say that Director Notavange and our supervisor Zernak were both in trucks also helping to assist to clear the snow. I want to applaud their efforts. I can't say enough good things about the 8 gentlemen that were working that day and were able to do the best they could. They worked countless hours, long, hard hours in the truck, and I want to thank them for that because it was not an easy job, and especially to Director Notavange and Supervisor Zernak, because coordinating all that was not easy either. So there was a lot of chatter out there about the roads in town, and I can tell you this was everywhere. This wasn't just us. So the work that they did was exemplary, and I'm very proud of it. And I can't thank you guys enough for the work you did. So when you think about these things and you get upset because you see snow on the road, understand that that's a very difficult task to clear that. And when you get that amount of snow, I don't care what city you are or how many employees you have, you're going to struggle. So please be cognizant of that and understand that when you get mad and you think, man, I'm sliding all over the road, the city stinks, it's not necessarily the case. I mean, when that snow comes that hard and that heavy, I don't care who you are, you're not going to be able to keep it clear all the time. So keep that in mind when you get upset and you think about those things, and think about the gentlemen that were in the trucks those days for, get this, 16 hours. 16 hours, guys. That's a long, long time to be working. It's very difficult. And if you've ever driven in one of those trucks, I can tell you it takes a toll on you, and especially your body, and trying to be careful and watching all the people around you. So think about those things when we have a snow event, and understand that this city works very hard to keep our roads clear, and we're only going to get better. We work every day to try and improve on what we're doing and our efficiency and the ways that we plow roads. That's evident tonight with the trucks that we're going to be purchasing. That's going to help assist with the job that we do every day, especially in snow events. So please, 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 I beg you, if you see the service workers, understand that they're working very hard to keep our roads clear and keep us safe, most importantly. Next thing I want to touch on is shop local. Obviously, with the pandemic and the restrictions that are out there, I can only encourage folks to shop locally. They need you to come patronize them, so I can only ask you to continue patronizing these businesses that are in our community, and do your best to go and show some love to our local operators. Next, I want to touch on the Emergency Assistance Center. Joyce Hunt runs the Emergency Assistance Center, and I can tell you that they're struggling right now, and with the holidays, right around the corner, if there's anything you can do to help assist them. I know that they need some help, meaning, labor intensive with your hands. I know there's a lot of paranoia revolving around the pandemic, but if you have the ability and are willing, they can use your help. Councilor Ventura, I know, helps them weekly. He's there quite a lot to give them a hand with a lot of things, and it's an altruistic thing to do to try and help those folks in need. And there are people in our community that are in need. It's not just Macedonia. It's mostly the Nordonia community that they support, but there are some people outside of that. And if you can donate some goods, some food, some dry goods, please go to their website, call them. Any assistance you can give is good giving at this point. For me, holidays are about giving. It's not about taking. And if you can do something to support those in need, I can only encourage everyone in our community to continue to do that. It's a great, great program that we're very proud of. The folks that work there and give their time, I can't say enough nice things about, especially the director, Joyce Hunt, because she works very, very hard to support the community and those in need. So I thank you all for that. Now on to some good stuff. We are in receipt of a grant for our seniors. We got an email this week, and I'm just going to read it off to you just so it's neat and clean and for what they said to me. It says, thank you for applying for the coronavirus relief funding opportunity for adult day service and Ohio Center providers. The funding has been dispersed based on the calculations of determined need as assessed by the state of Ohio. Payments for providers who have experienced business interruptions and increased cost as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. Based on calculations, your organization has been awarded $25,000 to the address listed above, which is obviously City Hall. I can't thank Sherry Kuzma enough. I've got to tell you guys, the work that she does for our seniors in our area, is unmatched. I mean, she went out, found this grant, applied for it, got it, and we have money to support the seniors that are in need in our area. I'm just gleaming with pride over it. And again, Sherry Kuzma, for all you do, I can't say enough good things about you because you are amazing in what you do. You're worth every penny, and we love you for it. And I know our seniors absolutely adore her, especially around this time of year. For those of you that may not know, we do the meal delivery to our seniors. There's a lot of volunteers that help with that. If you're interested in that, we can get you set up with that. Contact our fire department, ask for Sherry Kuzma. But we're also delivering these meals to the seniors that are in need. And it's nice to see them, even though it's just dropping a bag in front of their door and waving to them. But they are very happy to see someone with the strange times we're living in. Next, I want to touch on the Operation Blue Santa. It was spearheaded by Sergeant Costello of our Macedonia Police Department. I'm going to read this off too. They raised a bunch of money, and a very deserving mom and dad with 4 little children were nominated by one of our officers. With the help of Walmart, Home Depot, and Lowe's in our area, and Hobby Lobby, they were able to provide the family with a refrigerator, toys for kids, a Christmas tree with all the trimmings, and $500 in cash to help them get back on their feet. The family was more than surprised and thankful. In the words of the dad, who was an Iraq war veteran, not even going to Iraq 2 times made him cry, but we got him to. Mission complete. Amazing, amazing stuff that Sergeant Costello spearheaded this with the help of some of his fellow officers. Again, an altruistic way of doing things, and I can't thank him enough. It's selfless, it's amazing, and we have some great, great people that work for the city, and what he did to support these families in need and these children is just absolutely amazing. And again, I'm gleaming with pride over this. Last but not least, it's the holidays. Roads can be bad, they can be slippery. Please put down your mobile devices and drive your vehicle. All right. Moving into committee reports.
The Parks and Rec Committee had its final meeting of the year in November, the 3rd week of November. We put a lot of discussion into what is to become of the new, of the hot tub at the rec center, and thankfully everyone was in agreement that they should go ahead and fix it. So thank you to Director Chaddock for putting the work in to getting that going. And it's going to take a long time, but our residents are going to be super excited to have that back. We won't be meeting in December. I just want to, I don't know if I'll be the council representative next year. I've been on it for 3 years now, and there might be somebody else's turns, but I really want to thank everyone who volunteers to be on this commission. It takes a little time. You got to come once a month. You got to put some time and effort into it. Thank you to the people who had to leave this year, and thank you to the people who signed up to take their place. You guys have really made a difference, and you continue to make a difference. And whether or not I'm back next year, I hope you can keep the momentum going. So that's all for my report for the year.
Thank you. Any other committee reports? Hearing none, we'll move into department reports, and we will start with Director Notavange.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the kind words with the department. We greatly appreciate it. But I do want to give you credit as well, because you were ready at moment's notice to get in a truck if needed. You knew what we were up against, and you were ready to come out to help us as well. I know you were questioning me multiple times about coming out, and we weren't able to do that, but thank you very much, because I know you would have done that. And also Chief Ripley was also ready to jump in a truck. I think he wanted to get in one of my trucks. That's why my trucks were on his legislation. The fire department was listening to legislation tonight. So, but as Mayor said, our department was affected tremendously here, cutting us in half. And to give some perspective, with the 8 employees that we have, we run 6 plow routes. So in a 24-hour period, and with the supervisor and I, that gave us 10 drivers for 6 routes at time, split up. So one group worked 16 hours, the other group worked the other 16. So for 6 routes, we had 5 people that can cover 6 routes. And obviously it's hard to do. We have to try to double up. One of the biggest hampers that we had during this snow event was the downed trees across roadways. we had 12 trees throughout the city. 7 of them were on Route 8 alone. And these are at different times throughout the storm. So we had to stop what we were doing, 2 or 3 of us, to go stop, get equipment, remove the trees from the street, get them, clear them off, and then start back up again. And you can tell you how disappointing it is when you're clearing a road, you have to stop, and the snow's coming down so hard, it's coming down, covering as fast as you're taking it back off. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of the side streets couldn't gotten hit during that time. We were concentrating on mains, getting pulled off to take care of the trees. And also we had some down utility lines that we had to clear off the roadways as well. So all in all, I mean, very happy with the way that everything was handled. We pulled our building maintenance staff in as well to help with the rec center, to keep the walkways and parking lots clear over there. This is something usually service handles as well, but we didn't have the manpower, so it was a joint effort across the board with the administration and the employees to do what we can, and let's hope that's the last snowstorm we're going to see for the rest of this year. I think we've had enough for the winter season.
That's wishful.
And it is. With some of the snow melt that we're getting over the weekend, we are looking to resume leaf collection again, starting on Monday the 14th. Now, again, because our department is limited right now, we're only going to start off with 1 crew. Where we left off at was 2 different zones. On the second round, we had North Shepherd Road left to do. And then the third round was already started as well for the residential streets. And that's starting in the what we call the orange zone. This is the developments north of 82 and west of 271. Everything south of 82 had already received 3 rounds, with the exception of the mains. They had not, but all the residential areas south of 82 had received their 3-round collections. So we're going to start up again on Monday on Shepherd Road. We're going to try and get that second round of the main completed just on that road, and then we will resume into the orange route, which would be your Waters Development, Firestone, bring it, over in that area. So hopefully the weather will cooperate, and as our numbers go back up, we'll get more crews out. So that's why I'm saying no more snow this year, Mayor. And that's all I have.
Thank you. And I also like to note that on our website for leaf collection, I think we finally dialed it in to have a good way for you to look into there to see where we're at in terms of the collection. I can tell you that Director Nottavans and Director Collins have worked very hard to come up with something that actually works. I had reached out to several other mayors and looked at other communities and what they did, and we kind of formed our own little gig there. So if you're wondering where we're at in terms of the collection, it's on our website under the leaf collection under the service department. I encourage you to check that out. If you have any questions, please ask. We'll try to answer anything we can. Okay, moving on. Director Veras.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank Council for passage of all the finance-related pieces on tonight's agenda, and wish everybody a happy and safe holiday season.
Thank you. Director Collins.
He said he was going to take a nap during the meeting, so he won't be back up until about 8:30. So I just kept him over.
Sorry, they did move all the buttons in the new version of Teams. I don't have any current report. I just wanted to wish everyone a happy and a safe holiday and a happy New Year.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gelati.
Thank you, Mayor.
Look, you're back.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Hold on 1 second.
You know, Mr. Gelati, since it's the holiday season, you should bring your kids into the camera so we could say hi to them.
Well, if you like.
It's never going to be a bad thing.
Joe, let them out of the cage.
Come here. Can you hold on?
Oh, they're invisible. Excellent.
Well, yeah, hold on.
There's the cage, Joe. There it is.
There we go. Hey, look at the camera. Say hello.
Hi.
Buddy, say hello to Gigi.
Hi,
oh, look,
Gigi.
they all waved at you, babe.
Hold on.
No. Okay, all right. This is official business.
Joe,
Gotta go.
Joe, move to your left so everybody can see the cage.
Okay.
That's a very different background, Joe.
How about that for a report? I sit here for 2 hours and 15 minutes in total silence, and as soon as the mayor calls me, she walks over. Oh, well. Only thing to report, Guadalupe Church Detention Pond is currently under construction. Our contractor out there has made very good progress to date. Mrs. Tully, I'm sure you could see the work from your backyard. As we all know, this project has been a long time coming, so we're very happy that the work is finally taking place, so that's good news. That's all I have. Happy holidays to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Next up is Director Chaddock.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, I had to get my house quiet real quick before I went live on air.
Hey, bring your kids in too. I mean, we got a party tonight.
We're working on it. Boo, come here.
Hey, Jason, in all seriousness, my daughter loves your background.
I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of my background. I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of so you can actually who's with me.
Oh, it's all right.
Let's see. I here sit with me.
I think you've gone digital.
You let them go back to playing whatever game they were using.
A little bit. We can see one.
You're buffering, man. You're all breaking up.
You turned into max headroom. All right, I think we're going to have to skip you, Mr. Chaddock. You're not coming into focus here. Okay, well, hopefully that'll come back up. If so, I'll come back to you, Director Chaddock. All right, next up is Chief Ripley.
Good evening, everyone. We're just busy responding to calls. I did, in fact, offer to drive John's plow trucks. He immediately said, do I get to drive the ladder? I said, no. I didn't drive a plow truck. He didn't drive our ladder. They did work very hard that day. It was a terrible storm. We were out in it. We had sympathy for them. They did a great job with the trees and wires because they weren't calling us, which is good and kept us available. Other than that, I'd like to wish everybody happy holiday. And I, for one, am very happy to see 2020 end and look forward to 2021. So have a great holiday season.
Thank you. All right, Director Chaddock, it looks like you're back with us.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Having some internet issues here today, apparently. Can you all hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay, beautiful. Mayor, I'd like to echo your comments from earlier and thank Director Notavange, Steve Plata, and Jeremiah for all their help during the snow removal process. We all had phone calls at weird hours of the morning, weird hours of the night. Rec Center was able to stay fluid throughout the whole time. So thank you guys for all the effort, both the day of the storm and the subsequent days afterwards. It was of great help to us. I'd also like to thank our part-time staff for all the effort they made during the course of the day, keeping walkways clear and de-icing the walkways for our guests coming in early in the morning and late at night. And then from there, I'd like to also, regardless of what happens for the 2021 year, I would like to thank Councilmember Brandt for all her dedication to the Parks and Rec Commission. She's been a wonderful asset to have. And as a new person, she's been very educational for me to work with and really taught me the ropes of what's been going on for the previous years and also getting me prepared for my new role as Parks and Recreation Director. So Councilmember Brandt, thank you very much for all your dedication. Currently, I just want to highlight a couple quick projects going on. We're working on new logo design for the Parks and Rec Department. We start that, we actually kick off the design part of that project tomorrow. So we're pretty excited about the future of that and being able to get a new refreshed logo for the facility. Very excited to announce, not as much as the senior operations got, however, Parks and Recreation Department did receive our first ever grant from the OPRA, which is the Ohio Parks and Recreation Association, the governing agency for the state regarding parks and recreation. We received our first grant. We are going to use that money towards a new software system called Connect 2, which will be an opportunity for us to gather a lot of the data that we're always asking for when we're trying to make decisions. We will finally be able to gather our facility usage data, the different data that goes into the equipment usage with the cardio equipment throughout the facility, cleaning and maintenance logs, incident report logs, and tracking all of our numbers throughout the facility. We're very excited about this. It'll be a one-stop shop for everything that we have within our software network. So we will start that process Q1 of 21. And we have been able to partner with our local school district to get 2 new competitive diving boards. We're pretty excited. We're going to close out December with putting in 2 new diving boards for our local high school team as well as our club team within the Parks and Rec department. So we're pretty excited about that. Oh, now your child left right as I finally waved. So again, a great opportunity for us to partner with the school district on another project for inside the pool area. So those 2 diving boards should be installed by the end of this year. And as Councilmember Brandt mentioned, we worked with the Parks and Rec Commission to get the appropriate funding put in place to repair the hot tub. We are working on scheduling that right now, so I'll be able to send out some new, fresh information in the next 2 weeks about when the schedule will take place. It will be a 6 to 8 week project in Q1 of 21, and the hot tub will become operational once again. So I'm very happy to announce that, and at a council meeting soon, we'll be able to say we are open. So we're looking forward to that. And then I'd just like to wish everyone a happy and safe holiday season. Thank you.
Director Chaddick, did you, I may have missed it if you said it and I apologize. Did you have a contest you wanted to talk about?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Councilmember Garvis. We have a Deck the House contest currently going on. We have had some pretty cool nominations come in. Garvis is obviously showing off a little bit there in the background. Did we get a submittal yet?
No, I'm hoping to go out and film it again tonight. The first time I filmed it, I got a lot of reflection that I don't like, so I got to go back out and all over again.
Okay.
Clark, you need to kick it up a notch. We need more lights. Come on.
We can, and I have here behind me the master sequencer who's done 7 of our 10 songs in software. This is my daughter, Jessica, since we're all showing off tonight.
Hi, Jessica.
But, you know, I'll just, if you don't mind me saying real quick, I'm not the only house in town, obviously. There's some really good other shows that are similar to ours on Shoshone and Berkshire, to name a few. And I hope they've entered as well.
I can't speak offhand to who has all entered yet because I haven't been able to look through everything. We have 2 categories going. One is more of what you have going on, where it's a light feature along with music to go with it. And then we have a more traditional still shot picture that is coming in as well. So thanks to a great recommendation, we've been able to go with 2 categories for this year. And we have our winning signage ready. So we just need everyone to submit. And I believe the 15th is the deadline for submittal. So that way we can get the yard signs out to the winners so they can have plenty of time to brag about their yard while people drive by to experience the show.
I think it's a great thing that you're doing. I'm glad you're doing it because I think it was great for Halloween and I think it's great for this as well.
Thank you, guys. Staff's been working really hard at putting together some creative ideas, and we're really excited about what the future holds, and staff's working really hard to serve the community for 2021 now.
Love the community engagement. Thank you very much for that. Okay, next up is Chief Golden.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd also like to thank Sergeant Costello and the officers involved in that program. They did a fantastic job. Some of that money came from No Shave Winter, previously known as No Shave November. And since we had to cancel Shop with a Cop this year, we're going to be able to take care of some other families in different ways. So thank you to everybody involved. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. And I tried the No Shave November and I barely made it. I couldn't deal. It was too itchy. I just can't do it anymore. All right, next I'm going to call on our new Director Smith. Anything you'd like to add this evening? She's not going to be happy with me for this.
Yeah. No, it's okay, Mayor. I first want to thank you, Mayor, and I'd also like to thank Council for passing the resolution. I've really enjoyed serving the employees of the City of Macedonia for the past 3 years, and I look forward to many more. So thank you. And we are currently in our final steps of implementation of our medical plan for 2021 through the Med Mutual of Ohio, as well as through the OGBC Consortium. I'll be holding open enrollment virtually for the first time next week for all employees. So it's going to be interesting to see how through Teams that we hold open enrollment, and hopefully it'll go well and we'll have everybody up and running and things will be smooth and we can maybe take a breath for a minute. And that's the end of my report. And again, thank you, everyone.
And thank you, Director Smith. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Annette.
All right, and last but certainly not least, Director Guidetti.
Thank you, Mayor. I wasn't sure if you were going to call on Ms. Smith, but I wanted to say and congratulate her, first of all, and say that she is a very dedicated, hardworking, and deserving employee. I know she probably often feels like she's working 24 hours a day, so just wanted to say congrats. Beyond that, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, happy Festivus, whatever you may celebrate, and a Happy New Year to y'all. Thank you.
And I missed that one too, so I will say, I said Happy Hanukkah, so Merry Christmas, whatever else you may celebrate, Kwanzaa. I'm sorry, I don't know all the different holidays, but happy holidays to everybody and Happy New Year since this is our last meeting of the year. Okay, any unfinished business?
Mr. Mayor, did you already put in the order for Mrs. Smith's new nameplate?
No, but I will. Is that your Nick got ran over by a reindeer moment? Any new business?
From all of council, I'd like to wish everyone a happy holidays. This has been an interesting year to say the least, and everyone has stuck together with the focus on you, the residents, and trying to make things as best as we can. All the departments have been so dedicated. There's not enough that we can say thank you for. I just wish that 2021, just so you know, the vaccine has been not formally approved, but it just went through the approval process and will probably be approved tomorrow. So there is sunshine on the horizon. Thank you, Mayor, for your leadership this year, and everyone have a great, happy holiday. I know you got to spend New Year's Eve alone, but at least the people in your household, you'll have a good time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I just want to say happy holidays to everyone and just really thank the staff and the directors and the mayor. You guys have all been phenomenal this year. Our safety services, our service department, everyone, you know, did the best they could with what they had, and it really doesn't feel like the city lost a step. So I just want to congratulate you all for really being the best that we could hope to work for, and really congratulate everyone for figuring out how to use Teams. We have done a fantastic job. I see your shining faces. Everyone's got their lighting going on. Everyone's got, you know, their microphone. Everyone knows how to mute. You're all here. It's awesome. I really did not think that this was going to go so well, but I am very proud of everyone for their technical prowess, especially you, Vinny. You are here every week. We can hear you. We can see you. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I had help at different times. Believe me, I definitely had help. And while I got the floor, I just want everybody to stay warm and stay safe, please.
Any other new business? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you, everybody. Be safe.
Bye. Have a good New Year.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays,
Happy
everyone.
holidays, Merry Christmas, and have a nice evening.